So I've been doing up a couple of pairs of shears here down at Shear Shop New Zealand, and I just thought I'd show you a bit of a difference. So I've got a really old pair of TUS shears here from Bergen and Ball, and then I've got a pair from this year. So I thought I'd go through a few of the changes that have been made through the years and the pros and cons of each. So for a start, I'll show you, hopefully you can see the different shapes of the bows. The old shears have like a perfectly even curve on each of the bows, and both of the bows are exactly the same size. Whereas the new shears, the bows are a wee bit wonky, and that one's a bit smaller than that one. So that's quite noticeable just visually, but also the bows on these have a very nice amount of spring in the shears. The new shears, some are good, some are too strong, some are too weak. It goes a bit up and down. Something that's become good again is the handles on the new shears are quite straight, like these old ones. The old ones are like perfectly straight. For a little while, a few years ago, the shears came with big bows in the handle, and that was pretty uncomfortable, and you had to straighten them out. Another thing with these old shears is every pair that I've ever gotten my hands on has had perfectly straight blades, and they're already set straight up and down to the bows, which is how we want them for shearing. Perfectly straight and angled just into each other about the right amount. I've had to curve this blade in a little bit just to get them to shear, to cut the way I like it. With new shears, we generally have to look down the blades. Now I've already straightened the blades on these shears, but we always have to look down the blades and find if the blade's curving in or out, and straighten that out on most new pairs of shears. Whereas the old ones, as I say, every pair I've ever gotten my hands on has had almost perfectly straight blades straight out of the box. Now I've done a bit of work on each of these, but I haven't touched the points of the shears. You can see on the new shears, they've got very rounded points, so I have to grind quite a lot of steel off there to get those to enter the wool. These old shears have already got quite a nice point. I will touch them up a little bit, but it'll take me a minute or two per point, whereas these take 5 minutes or so. It's not a huge effort, but it's just something extra that we have to do on the new pairs of shears. And the other big difference is the steel. So these old shears, you can see where I've had to heat these shears up to pull the blades back, and when I wanted to curve that blade in slightly, I had to heat it up because it'll just snap otherwise. It's a lot harder. I've had them tested, and the old shears are about 4 Rockwell harder than the new shears. So you've got to be a bit more careful when you're doing them up, but once the old shears are done up, that they keep their edge for longer and they last for a lot longer. As I say, having harder steel isn't a benefit in every way. You have to heat them to do any work to them. And the other thing is, if you hit stones or something with hard steel like this, you can end up taking quite a big chip out of the blade. Whereas with the softer steel, if you hit a stone, normally you just get a little bit of a dent, and you can just sharpen that out quite quickly. But yeah, new shears, we don't have to heat them up at all to work them. I've had maybe one pair crack on me, but these old shears, I've had a couple of pairs crack, and that was with heating. So yeah, the steel is quite a lot different in the shears. These old shears too, the steel seems to be very evenly hard, whereas not so much now. They seem to have fixed it. Again, a few years ago, we had a few batches where they'd have soft points somewhere in the blade because the steel wasn't evenly hard, and they seem to have fixed that now. These new shears are going pretty good. But yeah, so that's just a bit of a difference, a bit of how the manufacturing has changed of these shears over the years. So these are both from the same factory, 50, 60 years apart. So yeah, hope that's informative.